Hey everybody, welcome to Call It in the Ring, a wrestling recap and discussion show with Marcus Stewart. That is the man who you are listening to right now with the lovely voice, and we are going to be talking about Monday Night Raw, the August 8th. Wait, August 8th? 8 is the month of August. I'm getting myself mixed up. The August 13th show of the year 2018. And before we get right into this, I just want to remind you that if you are listening to this on YouTube, you can also download and subscribe to the show on iTunes. Just search for Marcus Writes About Games. You can also do the same on Podbean. Once again, search for Marcus Writes About Games, and you can listen and subscribe to the purely audio versions of this show. But thank you for listening, no matter what platform you're on. But let's get right into it. So, surprisingly, at the beginning of this, there was no graphic for Jim Neidhart's passing. If you're not aware, we had yet another big death in the wrestling community. It's been a rough couple of weeks with that. We had yesterday, Jim the Anvil Neidhart passed away. Of course, one half of the Hart Foundation, alongside Bret Hart, and the father of current WWE superstar Natalya. Man, that came out of nowhere. I don't know. I logged it online and saw it. It's like, whoa, what? I'm like, what the hell? You know? 63 years old. Hart Foundation is an amazing tag team. And it's crazy that with Jim's passing, that Bret is now the last surviving member of the Hart Foundation. Or at least, like, the Hart Foundation as a faction. Because, originally it was just a tag team with Bret and Jim in the 80s and early 90s, and then it became a faction during the Attitude Era, the early days of the Attitude Era, with Bret, Jim, Owen Hart, and Bulldog, and all of them are gone now, except for Bret. So that's I guess a little more morbid trivia for you, I guess. But no rest in peace graphic that you normally get at the beginning of the show, which I thought was very, very odd. Granted, they would make up for it a little bit later, and actually a lot of it sooner, because we had the show kicked off, and first Coach Jonathan Coachman was not on commentary tonight. He was away on assignment, which I always wonder what that actually means. Like, is he actually out doing something different, or is that like code word for like, oh, he's sick or something? Or I don't know. I don't really need a reason to not have to listen to Coach on commentary. You could just not have him there and not even explain it, and I will not complain about it because he's kind of unnecessary. But in his stead, we had Renee Young on commentary for the first time in feels like forever. I thought that was a nice, pleasant surprise. If you're not aware, Renee Young is the backstage interviewer who has been in WWE for 5 years now, maybe a little bit longer, but she is fantastic and easily my favorite kind of like on-screen like personality backstage next to Corey Graves. And because she's so damn likable and bubbly, and she never says anything stupid. Like, I genuinely cannot think of a time that Renee has said something that made me roll my eyes. So, and she has experience commentating before, as she commentated during NXT's early years back in the day. So it was nice having her in the booth, and she did well throughout the night. And honestly, she can just stay there if it means kicking Coach to the curb. But on to the show itself, we had Ronda Rousey kick things off, and she was very somber and emotional because of Jim Neidhart's passing, because her and Natalya are apparently very good friends in real life, IRL. And she cut this really nice promo talking about the importance of fathers and how they hold you up, and how she can't imagine what it would feel like to lose someone that important to their lives. And I thought it was, and it wasn't so much a promo as much as it felt like just Ronda just kind of speaking from the heart. And I think the crowd could feel that, because they were very quiet as Ronda was talking about this, and I think, got this big ovation once she was finished. And then, I think she did a great job kind of segueing that into her feud with Alexa Bliss, saying how, Natty was the first person to welcome her into the company, and now she's going to be the first person to defend Natalya from Alexa Bliss. And then this brings out Alexa alongside Alicia Fox, as Alexa is set to have a match with Ember Moon. And Alexa has a promo of her own, and she goes on a fantastic little rant about how basically reiterating that Ronda is an overhyped rookie who doesn't deserve to be in the spot that she's in, and then transitions into how unfair it is that Kurt Angle, he protected the Universal Championship main event by kicking Roman Reigns out of the building last week so that he couldn't get his hands on Brock Lesnar, but then Ronda Rousey's going around attacking her left and right, and how come she isn't banned for being a psychopath? And she goes on this rant for a good while, and she was awesome. Like, this was the maybe one of the best promos she's ever done in terms of just coming off as a sheer just dick bag. Like, you just want to see her get her arm ripped off watching her. And then she says that since Kurt Angle couldn't do her job, she went to an authority figure that actually does do their job in Constable Baron Corbin, who has granted her personal security for the match to keep Ronda at bay. And then we get 4 guys, come out to the ring with her. And that leads to our first match, Alexa Bliss versus Ember Moon. And this is a great match, really solid match. Ember is one of the best, just physically gifted women on the roster, and I'm excited to see more of her right now in the future, especially in the women's title picture. What happened to Mickie James? Is she hurt or something? 'Cause I've noticed Alicia's kind of playing Mickey's role in terms of being Alexa's buddy, I should say, / bodyguard. And I haven't heard much mention of Mickie, so I'm not sure if she's injured. I haven't heard anything on that. But Fox had this weird kind of like leaf hat thing that she was wearing, and Corey Graves got in a great line asking why Alicia Fox was dressed up like Kale. At one point in the match, Alexa blew a kiss to Ronda, and Ronda caught the kiss and then threw it on the ground and stomped on it. Thought that was pretty funny. And then Ember gets the upper hand and hits the Eclipse on Alexa, and right when she had the win secured, Alicia Fox breaks up the pin, drawing a DQ victory for Ember. Eventually, Ronda gets in the ring, or security, or actually, I think this was before the match. Actually, I'm sorry, but Alexa got into the ring with her security. This is actually, she hit on Ronda from behind, and then Ronda, of course, went beast mode and tried to get her. Alexa's security team gets in between them, and then Ronda does what she does best and went into Ronda smash mode and just proceeded to beat the crap out of the 3 guys, causing the 4th guy to run away in fear with this great kind of bug-eyed, oh my god look on his face. This whole opening segment between Ronda's opening promo being as emotional and making you get behind her, behind Alexa Bliss just turning up her bitchness, so to speak, to the 11th degree. You just want to see Alexa just get destroyed on Sunday. So, what SummerSlam is this Sunday? I think I forgot to mention that. This was the last show before the biggest show of the summer, the second biggest show of the year is this Sunday. So this whole Raw is kind of the final sell for all of the matches to go see it. And this was a great way to make me want to see Ronda Rousey annihilate Alexa Bliss. So well done by everyone involved. We get footage after this of unseen footage of Paul Heyman's sit-down interview with Renee Young last week after the interview wrapped up. Heyman goes to leave, and then, because the last question was, Renee asked him, who do you take at SummerSlam? Do you think it's going to be Brock, or do you think it's going to be Roman? And Heyman kind of contemplates it for a while and, doesn't really answer. And then, the interview kind of ends there. He pretty much just says, I've never seen Brock this vicious, so Brock will probably win. And then the interview ends. But then afterwards, he sat down for a bit and kind of rethought his statement and said, unless. And then Renee's like, unless what? But then Heyman just goes to leave. And then, the whole time, Renee's left hanging, unless what? What were we going to say? So we're very, very mysterious. What did Heyman mean by unless? We'll find out later tonight. What we're going to find out right now is what Baron Corbin has in mind, because he's backstage yelling at Kurt, saying that he doesn't need Kurt's approval to make matches and basically do anything because he has Stephanie backing him. And this brings in Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre, asking where Seth Rollins is because apparently they have a contract signing tonight for their Intercontinental Championship match at SummerSlam. Apparently Seth was over in China doing some, promotional work for WWE, and Kurt says that he's had some travel issues, so he has not yet made it to the arena, but he promises that Seth will be there before the end of the night to sign the contract. Drew and Dolph are skeptical of this. Corbin comes out to the ring, and he, picks his own opponent because he wants to have a match tonight, and his hand-picked opponent is Tyler Breeze, who comes out to his old music, which I was happy to hear the regular Tyler Breeze music again, because I always really liked his song. This match was fine. There was dueling chants for Corbin, which I didn't expect. I don't think I've ever heard a Let's Go Corbin chant, but he was getting Let's Go Corbin. Corbin sucks. The biggest surprise, though, is that not that Corbin won, but that he won with the Deep Six, which is his secondary signature move that he's never won a match with, to my knowledge, that I can ever remember. And it was great because I've always felt like he should win more matches with that, because while I love the End of Days, I think that's a really great finisher. Deep Six looks just brutal. If you haven't seen it, it's like a spinning boss man side slam, but he spins them he gets a few extra rotations in there, so the guy is flying around his body before he just slams the crap out of him. And I've always thought that move should win matches, but it never does. It always gets a close 2 count. And very much like Sami Zayn's Blue Thunder Bomb, which is a similar thing, signature move that should win more matches. I've just thought that move should just put people away because it looks so devastating, and I'm glad to see it beat Tyler Breeze, because even if it never wins another match, at least there's precedent for it winning. So now when he hits it, I have reason to think maybe he'll get the win with this. It'll make those Deep Six counts mean something going forward. So cool thing to see there. This immediately after his victory, Corbin grabs the mic and he says that, well, I shouldn't be the only one having action tonight. Let's get Finn Balor out here for his match. And of course, he has handpicked Finn's opponents. First, he brings out Jinder Mahal. And Michael Cole gets in a stupid line saying that, oh, this is great for Finn because, Jinder has a very similar frame, body frame to Corbin. So this will be great practice basically for him. So, he can know how to face Corbin. Which would work if Finn hadn't already beaten Corbin one-on-one. So it's he needs practice to learn how to beat a guy that he's already defeated before. So, yeah, that, whatever. But Finn won't just be facing Jinder because Corbin ups the ante by bringing out Kevin Owens and saying that he's going to have to fight both men in a handicap match. However, as Corbin goes to leave, Kurt Angle comes out and says, because you might get approval from Stephanie, but I still make the matches, and I can't cancel the match, but I can add to it. So he brings out Finn's tag team partner, one Braun Strowman, who gets a huge ovation in Greensboro, South Carolina, or North Carolina. Where's Greensboro? South or North? I think it's South. Oh man, geography. Then we get our tag team match, Braun Strowman and Finn Balor against Jinder Mahal and Kevin Owens. This is a fun little match. I always like when you combine multiple feuds into one match, and Finn, Corbin, Owens, Strowman, with Jinder just kind of there on the side. The Braun and Balor did their because they've teamed before in the past, and I've enjoyed their teaming because they have this thing where Braun will use Finn as a weapon against Finn's will. So and they did that here again where Braun tagged Finn in, and then Finn comes in, and then Braun just without asking or really making any indication he's going to do this, he just scoops Finn up, and drops and slams Finn on top of Gender, or one of them, which, it's like a double team move where one of the participants is not willing to be involved in it, which I always think that I always like that. Like the first time they did that, I remember like Balor looking at him like, "What the hell, dude?" And Braun's like yelling at him. He's like, "Get up, you're fine." So it's nice to see that again. There was another great point where Braun was chasing Kevin around the ring as he normally does, and then on the way he scoops up Sunil Singh, who's at ringside, like effortlessly as he's running, just scoops him up, carries him, and then he rams Sunil into Owens like a battering ram and knocks him over. And I thought that was great. Braun and Finn pick up the win. And post-match, Kevin runs from Braun, which causes Braun to chase after him, which leaves Finn alone in the ring where Corbin attacks him from behind and hits the end of days, laying Finn out, adding some more fuel to their relatively weak fire for SummerSlam. Do we get the Demon at SummerSlam? I don't know. Has this feud warranted it? I mean, he's brought it out for less, I guess, or at least maybe less than back in NXT. It's been a long time since we've seen Demon Finn. So I could, second biggest show of the year, fighting this guy he doesn't like, maybe. We'll see. Let's see. Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre are backstage again in Kurt Angle's office, bothering him about the contract. They are still waiting for Seth. Seth is not there. They are impatient. This brings us back to the ring where we have a guitarist named Ricky Roberts, who is the short dude in this kind of hokey cowboy outfit. And he talks about how Elias is his favorite artist of all time, and basically how he wants to impress and emulate his hero. Apparently he's a local to Greensboro. Elias comes out on stage and says, "Hey, if you want to impress me, beat the crap out of Bobby Lashley." Lashley comes out, and at first doesn't think much of Ricky. Once again, like the last 2 weeks, Bobby turns his back, like he drops his guard down, which I guess maybe in this case I can sort of understand, because it's this little guy who's not even on the roster. But still, he turns his back. Ricky actually hits him with the guitar, or shatters the guitar on Bobby's back. It does nothing to Bobby, it only angers him, and then Bobby proceeds to eviscerate Ricky Roberts in the ring. I think Elias and Bobby, I'm assuming that they're gonna wrestle at SummerSlam. I can't remember if that match was set or not when they do the big SummerSlam kind of rundown of the card. I don't remember if that match was on there or not. I feel like it should be, because they've been at it the last 3 weeks now, so may as well. But yeah, this is just the more furthering of their little feud. Bobby Lashley, he needs to kind of murder. I would say he needs to murder Elias, but at the same time, Elias is just head over heels better than him in the charisma department, that it's hard not to want to get behind Elias and not Lashley. I don't know. It's just putting him against someone with a character as strong as Elias, I don't think it's doing Lashley favors in terms of fan support to me, even though I think Lashley is really good in the ring. I like watching him kill people for the most part, but I don't know. There's always a problem when you have someone that's kind of weak on the character and going against a heel that's that strong of a personality. It's hard to not want to cheer for that villain, unless the good guy is so genuinely likable, I guess. We'll see. The B team are backstage, and they are doing math. Or attempting to do math, I should say. Bo Dallas has some odds because they will be defending the titles later in the night against The Revival and Matt Hardy in a triple threat tag team match. But Curtis says, "Hey man, we don't need math. Math didn't get us the championships. Teamwork did," which he is absolutely right. Math is worthless. It does not do anything. Screw math. Who needs numbers? Arithmetic is for losers. B Team said it first. And by later in the night, I mean right up next, because we have our tag title triple threat match. B Team, Revival, the Leaders of Worlds. This was the it's been a while since we've seen one of these. It's the triple threat tag match where it's like 2 in the ring at a time, but anyone can tag in and out. So you don't have to just tag your tag team partner to get in and out. If a member of another team gets close to you, you can just tag them and get in and then send them out. So it's if you haven't seen a match, I hope that explained it well. But it's a fun style of match that you really don't see all that often anymore. During the match, the Revival hit a heart attack, which was a nice little homage to the Hart Dynasty, or the Hart Foundation, not the Hart Dynasty. There was also a cool little 3-way where they each member of each team hit a sunset flip into a German suplex. That was cool. Matt Hardy hit a superplex from the top rope down to the floor, like he superplexed Scott Dawson onto everybody. Which is a nice big crash. And it looked like Revival had the match won, but Curtis Axel, in a great movie, they had Bray Wyatt in the ring. The Revival hits the Shatter Machine on Bray, but as they were setting up for the Shatter Machine, Curtis got a blind tag on Bray, I think, or one of the Revival, and which made him the legal man, unbeknownst to the Revival. So as they hit it, he kind of gets them out of there and steals the pin. And it was great because I didn't even notice that Curtis had blind tagged until the replay. So it's a nice kind of slick ending there that again plays into the idea that the B Team are kind of have luck on their side, even though they've won enough matches kind of cleanly. They've also won by the skin of their teeth oftentimes, and this was kind of a nice continuation of that theme. So, and that theme song remains amazing. So if you have not heard the B Team's new song, you should listen to it. B Team, go, go, go. It's a great song. Let's see. Of course, B Team go backstage and they run into Roman Reigns again, and they're celebrating, saying like, "We did it! You can do it too, Roman!" All that good stuff. I love that they do that. This brings us once again to Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre backstage, and they are not happy with a stipulation in the contract signing saying that Seth can have one person in his corner should he choose so. They think that should be taken out. Kurt informs them that, well, he could take it out, but that would also mean that Drew would not be allowed in Dolph's corner. Dolph is like, just kidding. You can keep it. Not that it matters anyway. We'll get to, it seems like a nothing little thing, but we'll get to what that pays off to later in the night. Out comes Roman Reigns for a chat. He says that he was always lived by the mantra of leaving the WWE a better place than he found it, but he can't do that as long as Brock Lesnar is Universal Champion, and that he is going to kick Brock Lesnar. I'm trying to, what was the quote exactly? He's going to kick Brock Lesnar's ass so far into the UFC that he'll find his head up Dana White's ass, which I thought was a pretty good line. Paul Heyman comes out and interrupts, but he says that Roman will win on Sunday. Actually, he's like, no, I think you're gonna do it. And he tries to recruit Roman. It turns out that maybe that unless from last week was him suggesting that, hey, if you and I partner up, we can beat Brock. Because Brock doesn't like me anymore, it seems. So, like, let me be your advocate. And, he kind of pitches this to Roman. He even gives him a sample of what it would be like by introducing Roman as the Universal Champion in the same manner that he introduces Brock. The whole reigning, defending, the whole speech. He even goes as far as to quote Roman's dad, who, if you're not aware, Roman is, he comes from the big Samoan dynasty, the Anoa'i family that The Rock hails from, as does seemingly every Samoan wrestler ever in WWE not named Samoa Joe. He quotes Roman's father, Sika. Sika is Roman's dad, right? He's, one half the Wild Samoans. I can't remember if it's Afa or if it's Sika. I think Sika is the one that's Roman's dad. But he speaks Samoan to Roman. Don't know what he said, but he kind of was trying to, get in Roman's head and like, hey man, your dad taught me stuff too, and speaks fluent Samoan to him, which I thought was pretty wild. Of course, Reigns does not fall for this or is interested in Corey's services. But Heyman relents and gives him he's like, hey, you don't have to decide now, but here's like this contract or this piece of paper, like just read this, think about it, and get back to me. As Roman is looking at the sheet of paper, Heyman pulls out some mace and sprays Roman's eyes. And by sprays, I mean he like empties the entire can into Roman's face. Like, just going wild. And the slow motion replay of the spray hitting Roman and Roman's head swinging back and forth with his hair as just liquid is flying everywhere, it was pretty fun. It seems like that would be some great meme fodder, because it kind of looked like almost like a really disturbing shampoo commercial, like you're just in the shower just cleaning his hair and somehow not having a great time of it, but it had some unintentional hilarity to it. But yeah, Heyman goes wild with this mace, just empties the can. Rick Martel would be so proud. And as Roman is laying there blinded on the ground, out comes Brock Lesnar. It was all one giant ruse. At least on this night, I'm not sure. Michael Cole kind of implied that the entire, all of the previous weeks of Brock being kind of abrasive, and I guess that's putting it lightly, to Heyman, was all one giant plan to execute this one thing, which I find kind of hard to buy. I would be more accepting of Brock and Heyman were actually having issues, but somehow they've managed to patch it up, or Heyman became more submissive to Brock. That I could buy that more. I'm not sure what the actual direction is for this, but at least in this particular segment, it was all one giant ruse. Brock comes into the ring and beats the crap out of a defenseless Roman Reigns. He even hits he does a chokehold, like a rear naked choke. I thought it was the Kimura lock at first, but it was some sort of rear naked choke looking thing, and chokes Roman out. And everyone's like, oh, Brock, you despicable monster. How can you beat up a defenseless man? Corey Graves says that a man that can't see can't fight. I think Daredevil would disagree, but Roman Reigns is clearly no Matt Murdock. As Brock goes to leave, he, of course, can't just let it rest. As Roman is starting to recover, Brock heads back to the ring and hits an F5 on Roman, just because he can. Once again, I have to wonder why Braun Strowman didn't cash in his Money in the Bank. After all of the stuff that Braun has said about, hey, the moment I see Brock, it's on. And it also just fits Braun's character. Why wouldn't he do it? And even more so now, because, his briefcase is on the line on Sunday. Shouldn't he be trying, I'm sure he's confident that he's going to beat Kevin, because why wouldn't he be? But if your briefcase is going to be defended in a match in a few days, and the champion is out there in the ring, and you've beaten him, or not beaten Brock, but you've beaten the crap out of Brock before, why wouldn't Braun use that opportunity to destroy Brock and take the title? Because then not only would he become Universal Champion, but then he gets the pleasure of taking away Kevin's chance to win it from him at SummerSlam. So that was the one thing I kept thinking the whole time this was happening. It was so where is Braun? There's no, unlike the week where Brock was hiding in the back the whole time, refusing to go out, there's no real story reason for why Braun should not have cashed in that moment. So yeah, just, it's one of those things where it kind of throws away kind of logic, and you just kind of go by, well, because that's just what the story calls for, and no other reason except for that, which is always unfortunate when that happens. But anyway, our next match, we had a 6-man tag between the Authors of Pain and Mojo Rawley taking on Titus Worldwide and Bobby Roode. And this was a nothing match, except for the fact that Roode actually picked up the win by pinning Mojo, which I was I don't know about that. once again, it's insane that Bobby Roode winning a match against Mojo Rawley is questionable, and probably a bit more questionable because the Authors of Pain were also on the losing end of that match. So those are two acts that I feel should not be really losing matches much at all, at least at this moment. So I was very surprised to see Bobby pick up the win. I think Cole alluded to the idea of like, hey, Bobby Roode would make a great member of Titus Worldwide, which is kind of sad to think about. But given how lame his good guy character is, maybe he would be a great fit for that group. Which, man, turn Bobby Roode heel. I'm just gonna say that every week. Make him a damn villain because he's so good at it. Next, we get a very nice tribute to Jim Neidhart. To kind of make up for the lack of acknowledgement at the beginning of the show. A great little kind of video tribute about his early life, his like football career, and then how he kind of married into the Hart family and got into wrestling. And we also had some really touching videos of Natalia and Jim together. Like there was like a Snapchat one that they had. Yeah, it was nice to see. It sucks that that he's gone, and hope that condolences to Natalia, the Hart family, the Neidhart family as well. Sad day. It sucks. But this was a really well done tribute, so kudos to WWE for that. This brought us to our next match of Sasha Banks against the returning Ruby Riott. Of course, Bayley and the Riot Squad in their respective corners. These two had another solid match together. Both of these women are just two of the most consistent performers on the roster, so there really isn't a time that they're not, at the very least solid. Ruby Riott picked up the win after a little bit of chaos ringside between the Riot Squad and Bayley. I'm not sure what. It's insane that it looks like Bayley and Sasha will not be on SummerSlam. They definitely won't be on the main card. Maybe they'll get like a quick pre-show match that they'll come up with the day of the show or something. But given how long this story has been between the two, it seemed like for months, really, that SummerSlam was going to be where that story finally gets paid off with those two facing each other in a match. And somehow the story has regressed to where that's not a possibility, because like they're on the same page. Nothing happened post match. Like they didn't get into it at all. They were just kind of like, oh man, we lost, or Sasha lost, really. Yeah, like and then no other segments for the two throughout the night. So it blows my mind that somehow that would have been one of the surefire matches for SummerSlam a month ago, and now that they're not even going to be on the show. And if they are on the show, it'll be kind of in a tag team capacity because there's no reason for them to fight each other because they haven't been set up to fight. So I'm genuinely bewildered at kind of the turn that this story is going. And at this point, 2018 is going to end with Sasha and Bayley still like around each other, basically. Like they're still going to be in a storyline with each other, which will be it really doesn't seem like it's going to end anytime soon, which I'm okay. Wow. Anyways, moving on. Let's see. Baron Corbin, he yells at Kurt Angle for Seth Rollins' absence backstage. This leads us to our final big segment of the night, a contract signing for the Intercontinental Championship match. Kurt's in the ring, big table, all that good stuff. Of course, Drew and Dolph come out first. And Dolph, kind of taking a page out of Alexa Bliss's book earlier in the night, he cuts a very nice little promo/rant about how he's the best and how underappreciated he is by the fans, and how the fans are only there when he's, for the good times, but when rough times happen with Dolph, they leave him. And, he's like, what's up with that? And he just goes on and on about like how Drew McIntyre isn't his lackey, but he's the only guy in the company that pushes him to be better than himself each and every day, and that's why he values him as a friend, and how, they're tired of complacency in WWE, and how he's going to beat Seth, and all this stuff, and Dolph is just feeling it here, cutting a great promo. Seth comes out, of course, and Seth admits that he's actually been in the building for some time, but he decided to just basically make Dolph sweat a bit. And then he mentions, and of course, and Seth is on the stage talking about this, by the way. And Seth mentions the clause in his contract that Dolph brought up earlier in the show that entitles him to have a person in his corner for his match at SummerSlam, and that he has decided to invoke that clause because, as he has stated the last several weeks, that he is tired of dealing with Dolph and Drew 2-on-1. It's gotten him nowhere. The only thing he's gotten out of it is beating after beating. And he says that, hey, if Dolph can have a psycho in his corner, what better way to counter that than with a lunatic? And hey, yo, guess who makes his big comeback? One Dean Ambrose, sporting a shaved head. Well, not shaved, like a buzz cut, kinda. But yeah, buzz cut head, and noticeably buffer looking. Like he looks noticeably bigger. Not like jacked or anything, but more jacked. Like he's like, especially his upper frame. Like he's been hitting the weights. You can tell. Like he looked really good. Let's say that. And the shaved head kind of works for him. We'll see how I get used to it. He looks crazier with the short hair. I will say that. Like he looks like I liked his old hair. It's weird that I'm spending this much time talking about Dean Ambrose's hair, but I liked his old hair. It played to his kind of insanity look, but now with this buzz cut, he looks still crazy, but like a dangerous kind of crazy. Like he looks like an inmate, like an actual inmate, like he's going to stab you. And he was no nonsense during this promo. Like him and Seth rushed the ring. They beat the crap out of Drew and Dolph. Drew took dirty deeds from Dean. A lot of D names in the ring. Dean, Dolph, Drew, dirty deeds. And, the Shield guys are left standing. And it's great to have Ambrose finally back. My big question is, does he betray Seth on Sunday? Because the only reasoning you could find would be like he took offense to when, because if you don't remember or you're not aware, last year, let's flash back a bit. Dean and Seth were the tag team champions, and then they were in a feud with The Bar, the team of Sheamus and Cesaro, and as was The Miz. And then Dean went down with an injury during the story. He, they lost the titles, and then Dean went down with I think it was a tricep injury, I believe it was. And during that time, Seth recruited Jason Jordan as his tag team partner, or maybe the other way was Jason Jordan volunteered himself to be Seth Rollins' partner. Jason Jordan, who is also out on the injured list right now, of course, was in storyline Kurt Angle's son and kind of an annoying brat who really wanted to be a member of the Shield, seemingly. And, of course, when Dean went down, he stepped up and was like, Seth, let me be your partner. And Seth kind of begrudgingly let him happen. And, of course, the two went on to capture the tag titles and then eventually lose them. So maybe they could do a story where Dean took offense to the fact that Seth, he perceived Seth as kind of immediately replacing him with somebody else. And not even like Roman Reigns, but like an outsider, at least in his eyes. I could see that. I could see it. So I don't know, there's something about Dean's new look that looks more heelish. So it seems like this would be like the reason he did it was so that he could be more detestable, I guess. So I'm very curious to see what happens in that match on Sunday. I will be keeping a very close eye on Dean, provided that Seth and Dolph don't steal the show with their wrestling prowess, and provided that the crowd decides not to hijack the show with their nonsense. So we'll see. But that wraps up Raw. This was a good go-home show for SummerSlam. In addition, they've introduced new elements to matches that have been kind of set in stone for a while in terms of like adding Dean Ambrose to the IC title match adds more intrigue to a match that we knew was going to happen, and I like that they added that one last big wrinkle at the end. the same kind of goes again with like Ronda Rousey and Alexa Bliss kind of having like turning up the heat on that. And then the Roman Reigns thing with Heyman kind of pulling the fast one. So all in all, SummerSlam's looking like a very stacked show, a very long show, as the last couple SummerSlams have been. So get ready for that. And it should be a fun weekend of wrestling. We got NXT TakeOver Brooklyn on Saturday, which even though I don't review NXT on this show, I do watch it every week, and I love the takeovers. So excited for that, and excited to get to the big party of the summer. So, but that wraps up Raw. Thanks for listening, guys. Once again, I will be back tomorrow for my SmackDown Live review. Once again, thanks for listening. You can subscribe and download on iTunes at Marcus Writes About Games. You can do the same on Podbean or in Google Play, Marcus Writes About Games. And until next time, keep watching wrestling. Never, ever stop watching wrestling. Until next time, have a good one.